Since the beginning of modern industrial agriculture in the United States, public policies and big corporations that shape our agricultural systems have forced farmers to treat their farm fields like factories, a place where inputs in the form of seeds, pesticides, and fertilizers are converted to outputs in the form of marketable food products, a system that was built to be broken. Our agriculture directly affects our daily lives, from the food we eat to the air we breathe. Issues such as health, environmental impacts, and economic consequences all stem from our modern agriculture systems. Currently, these systems incentivize unsustainable agriculture that causes a wide variety of environmental consequences, such as soil degradation, water pollution, and climate change. I am currently studying environmental engineering here at UW Oshkosh, and I also feel a personal connection to this issue as I'm a nature lover and I have been pretty much my entire life. This is a national issue, so I will lay this plan out at a national level. The impacts of improving our agricultural system will be felt by everybody in the United States, not just the farmers who implement these sustainable farming techniques. I will now address the most vital aspects of the multifaceted issues and present a plan to promote the much needed change. The United States has a massive flaw in one of its most important systems. According to a report by the USDA, approximately 53% of the nation's land use is for agriculture, which accounts for a massive portion of the US economy. Due to extensive agricultural activities, soil degradation, loss of biodiversity, and increase in greenhouse gas emissions have been clear. According to an article published by the USDA, annually, the United States loses about $44 billion each year due to lost productivity caused by soil erosion. Figure 1 shows an example of what degraded soil looks like. As you can see, it's very dry and crumbly, and this is due to dehydration from its lack of nutrients. So you're probably thinking to yourself, this seems pretty serious, but have probably heard of the global climate crisis, as this topic has significantly increased in popularity in the recent years. Unfortunately, this problem contains a wide range of issues, so a quick fix is not attainable. But for one of the first things that we can do to reduce our climate impact is to start with changing our agricultural systems. Currently, farming practices have catastrophic environmental consequences as they prioritize the short-term yield over the long-term sustainability. So why have agricultural systems become so unsustainable? This issue stems from a combination of farming practices, economic pressures, and inadequate policy support. According to an article published by the EPA, these are all true. So let's break down the causes a bit more. First, industrial farming directly impacts the short term over the long term. Farmers are pushed to maximize production, and to do this, they turn to synthetic fertilizers, chemical pesticides, and intensive land use. Second, economic pressures put farmers in difficult circumstances. Family-owned farms are struggling to get by, and this is because of the competitive market that's dominated by massive corporations. To survive, they often look to high yield options that are chemically intensive. And due to lack of financial flexibility, they are unable to switch to more sustainable practices. Lastly, policy incentives favor industrial farming over sustainable alternatives. Federal subsidies typically reward large-scale production of commodity crops like soybeans and corns and insufficient support to regenerative policies. Without government support, sustainable farming is financially impossible for most farmers. As someone who is studying environmental engineering, I understand that this is a very complex issue. If the solution was simple, action would have already been taken. The plan I propose would also occur at a national level with oversight from the federal government. The USDA is a federal agency, so federal initiatives are required. They will also be responsible for administering grants, tax credits, oversee compliances, and provide support to farmers. A policy that promotes this change is the Agricultural Environmental Stewardship Act of 2025. Three key areas of this policy are methane reduction, bio-based fertilizers, and regenerative farming practices. An article that was published by the American Farm Bureau Federation. These changes are vital for the first steps to making our farming system more sustainable. The cost is uncertain, but the transition will ultimately require billions of dollars over the next decade. The policy will be funded through a combination of federal tax revenue, environmental penalties, and public-private partnerships. Now, I'll tell you why this plan will be successful. My policy directly targets the root causes of unsustainable practices by giving farmers financial support and incentives. Soil degradation will be addressed with incentives from regenerative practices such as crop rotation, cover cropping, no-till, and many more. If you look to Figure 2, you will see a graphic of all of the different ways to improve soil health. According to another article posted by the USDA, these practices naturally restore soil nutrients, improve moisture retention, and prevent erosion. This act is efficient in encouraging farmers to adopt methane reduction technologies. According to an article that was published by the EPA, this method will even generate a new source of income through renewable energy production, further decreasing the agricultural sector carbon footprint. Financial pressures will be reduced using direct grants and tax credits. Farmers who switch to regenerative practices will receive federal support to cover the initial costs, ensuring the transition is not a financial burden. If you look to Figure 3, you will see a graph that shows that farmers who implement these changes are expected to increase their profit margins drastically. The advantages of this policy are both environmental and economic, and its implication will be benefited by everybody. However, like any policy, there are disadvantages to my plan. One disadvantage of the Agricultural Environmental Stewardship Act of 2025 is that there will be high upfront costs. Installing these practices will require billions of dollars of initial investment, but however, the long-term advantages of making the switch far outweigh the disadvantages. Other benefits are healthier soil, thus higher crop yields and greater food security. The change will also create jobs due to the expansion of organic fertilizers and the switch to renewable energy. Ultimately, this adoption over time will greatly boost the economy. The problems facing our nations are complex. The issue I discussed today play a vital role in the solution of these problems. As the agricultural system currently stands, the entire nation faces soil depletion, polluted water, and warming climate. The causes are now clear, and so is the solution. The Agricultural Environmental Stewardship Act of 2025 addresses these root causes by giving farmers tools and support they need to adopt sustainable practices. And this act prioritized reduction of greenhouse gas emission, improve water and soil quality, and strengthen long-term security, all while supporting American farmers. Action needs to be taken, and I urge you to do what you can to support this policy and advocate for sustainable agriculture. Our future depends on it. Thank you.